Okay, Mormons, Travis Wayne Goodsell yet again, because nobody has been able to soundly defend the church. So this video is dedicated to explaining your projection of you being the evil ones, because you keep accusing everybody who is not Mormon or who leaves the church. You accuse them of being the evil, and that they are blinded and they need to come back in order to be exalted in the highest degree of the celestial kingdom for time and all eternity, to be with your family forever. So, Mormons, do you not get it? When you project by putting a thumbs down, when you project with your comments of hatred, of violence, of pride, arrogance, yes, elitism is pride. When you believe that you are in a position of superiority because your membership is going to guarantee you exaltation, and everybody else won't get it, that's elitism. And when you put your family up as elite, then that's supremacy. And if you're white, that's white supremacy. You can't do that. That's pure evil. Because what you're doing is you're bullying others. You're verbally abusing others. So Bishop Reed Hammond, who is the one responsible for me doing these videos, he's a bully. He was in the military, and with his church experience, he bullied me out of the church. Don't bother to go to church if you're gonna go around telling everybody that the Book of Mormon is the official doctrine of the church. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. It's the church that put me in this building, or as a consequence of it, because I wasn't supposed to be here at all. I was supposed to be secretly locked away forever, so that no one would ever know about my existence, because the church ordered the Deseret News to clear my name from all comments. I was purged from the Deseret News archive record. And when I asked, trying to contact them over and over, they would not explain why my name was expunged. They've got new people in charge now, so they're not informed of it. They don't know what's going on. But church leaders do. And there's still those who were involved who are still alive today and are now running the church. So they know. They were on the board of directors then, they're on the board of directors now. And so, is that enough to say that the church is not true? Yeah. But I've got more. And if you've been watching my videos, you guys know I've got more. I've got more beyond what I already have put out. That's why we're doing this one, is to give you more. But it's more of a summary here to point things out. But in the previous video, I put the number 172 years old. And I then put the frame on the screen after that title. Do you understand why I put 172 and not 189? Because the church will tell you that the church is 189 years old. And in conference, they're going to announce over the pulpit of General Conference that the church is 189 years old on Saturday, the birthday of the church. Wrong. The church was shattered after Joseph Smith was murdered. So unless you're going to include all the birthdays of all the other branch-off churches, the church today cannot claim to be 189 years old. They are only 172. We're counting from Utah when they arrived here in the valley. That is the official birthday of the church, is Pioneer Day. That's the day I recognize as their birthday, their anniversary. And so that was in 1847, right, Mormons? Is it July 24th? Because people can take that holiday off rather than Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So yeah, Mormon holiday or a black man holiday, which would Mormons choose? Most choose the white man holiday of the Mormon Church. So again, there's more racism that the church is involved with. They should automatically say, yes, you get Martin Luther King Jr. Day off, and because Utah is unique, you also get the 24th off. But in Utah, they give you the option to choose which one you want off. Heaven forbid you take both off. So, and the fact that they're putting it up against a famous black man in history who led the civil rights movement, that's even more disgusting, that they would make you choose. And yet Mormons don't see it. Mormons don't care. And so it just blows my mind. And so, all right. But when you project onto others of how we're evil and you're not, you are actually projecting that you are the one who's evil. Now, how is that done, Travis? How is it? I don't see it. Exactly. That's the whole point that Jesus is making with the beam and the mote. When you falsely accuse someone of having errors, you yourself are guilty of not just the same errors, but worse. And it's a weird phenomenon that I've been tracking since I first caught on to that. And so when you claim that we're evil because we're criticizing the church, you're making a false accusation against us. You don't know the church is true. I already know not a single one of you are putting a sound argument in defense of the church. You'd rather attack me. And so you don't get it. Because you can't defend the church soundly, the church is not true. If you can figure out a way to defend it soundly, then I will listen to it, and it may confirm that the church is true. But none of you are doing it. Instead, you're attacking me. What does it mean when you attack someone with false accusations? That makes you the bad guy. If I respond and attack you back, I'm defending myself. But yet then you guys think, hey, you were criticizing the church, and so I called you out by attacking your character, and now you're defending your character? How dare you? And then you further victimize me, whom you attacked. You made me the victim in your initial attack, and then you victimize me, the victim, further by falsely accusing me again of correctly accusing you. That's how you work. That's how you operate. That is the modus operandi of corruption. Evil. Because evil refuses to see that they are evil. And so when I put up this challenge, and I'm tallying up the numbers of Mormons who cannot soundly defend the church, and yes, Russia is attacking too, because they want to cause a divide in the church, not just in the nation, but in the church. Russia is our enemy. China is our enemy. North Korea is our enemy. Saudi Arabia is our enemy. These are the trolls on social media who are spreading disinformation, misinformation, trying to divide the people in whatever group. They divide Democrats among the Democrats. They divide this nation between Republicans and Democrats. And it's actually Trumpites now, not Republicans anymore. Republican Party has been divided and conquered. It's now the Trumpites. So they've succeeded there. And you guys don't get it. The church too. You blame critics who are preaching the truth, exposing what the church has already exposed, even though I'm trying to point out to the critics, the church is still lying. The church isn't going to come out and say, yes, we're the bad guys, we're the church of Satan, and so, yeah, you guys are right. They're not doing that. So with race and the priesthood, read that. Notice, they say, yeah, Brigham Young was racist, but that's the way it was back then. God was using an imperfect man. And so the church, even though they admit to Brigham Young's racism, they will not allow him to be a false prophet. Because racism automatically disqualifies you as a prophet of God. Remember, we're all children of our Heavenly Father. See, Mormons? How can we have a prophet who says that some of Heavenly Father's children are undeserving of love? Racism is not tolerated in this church, or at least God's true church. So if a prophet is racist, he's not God's prophet, now is he? But there's more behind Brigham Young that I've been pointing out to you guys to confirm that he isn't God's prophet, even though the church implicated him in racism. They won't implicate him in polygamy. The church instead puts it on Joseph Smith, that it was all done in secret, that all these other people, after Brigham Young came out in 1853, when he instituted polygamy, then all these other people started writing in their journals, they started altering the documents, they manufactured the stories about Joseph Smith as if he were the one that wrote it, such as the angel with the sword back in 1833, in order to accuse Joseph Smith of having sex with a 14-year-old girl. That's how evil they are. And that's exactly what the Great and Abominable Church says, or does, according to the Book of Mormon, doesn't it? Because what did they do with the scripture records? They altered them. They changed them. They took stuff out. They put stuff in. They made it a stumbling block. What is church history? It's now a stumbling block for Mormons. And 13 million have left. Some for the reasons that Brigham Young is a racist, some for the reasons that the church lied about Joseph Smith being polygamist when it's actually Brigham Young. And so critics believe that Joseph Smith is a racist, therefore the whole church is corrupt. And they would be right if the church was right, but the church is wrong. And so their anger and hatred towards the church is misguided. It needs to be focused on Brigham Young. And he changed the temple. He changed God. The Mormon God changed under Brigham Young. And it was during his polygamy speech. That's when he brought it up. When he says, Adam brought one of his wives with him into the Garden of Eden. Adam is our God, our Heavenly Father. And Orson Hyde blew a switch. It would have been awesome to attend conference back then. You know, most of you guys think, oh, we're going to go to conference to see what new shocking revelation will be brought up, which is only business decisions. New temples and stuff like that. You know, under Hinckley, he tried to downplay conference. He wanted you guys to go to conference for the sake of going to conference. He didn't want you to go because of some rumor that leaked of some new announcement that was going to be made. He didn't want to do that with the church conferences. Nelson's doing it, isn't he? Because we already know that he's already set conference up in his tweet. You know, stay tuned. We're building the kingdom of God. We're restoring the church. Huh? Restoring? 2019 is going to be exciting. He's already set it up. And so now he's done all these things, these great miracles. A church, a temple in Rome, a temple in Boise, Idaho. I never thought I'd see the day when Boise, Idaho would get a temple. No, of course they're saying that about Rome. But you gotta pay. It's a members only thing. And the reason why it's a members only thing is because the church realizes that in contract agreements you have to keep secret about the information for members only. That's why people sell to members only, and if you don't pay, you don't get access to the products and services. Pay to play is what it is. And this is a religion that we're talking about. This isn't an internet site like CBS All Access Pass, where you have to pay in order to watch Star Trek Discovery, because they won't show it on the free TV. And so, you know, this is a church, and yet they're making members pay in order to go through the temple. So when Nelson makes changes to the temple, and it makes the news, oh, changes in the temple, I wonder what's going on. Guess what? You gotta pay. If you don't pay, you don't get to find out. You're supposed to be a paid member in order to find out the changes that the church has made. And so when you do pay and you find out, you should be horrified, Because yes, they've dethroned men as the presider in the home, and they've devalued women at the same time. Did you notice that? I bet you didn't. What is the symbolism of the woman wearing the veil instead of the man wearing the veil? God wears the veil. Why doesn't the man wear a veil? Because it goes back into ancient history where women wore veils. And it's been twisted in Islam, in Judaism, in Christianity. It's all been twisted around. Now it becomes a mark of suppression, oppression, suppression. Did I ever say that? There's so many shuns. It's hard to keep track of which ones I already said. But originally, women were valued as goddesses. That's why when you get married, a woman is treated as a goddess in the ceremony. She is veiled. And so the man penetrates the veil when the sealing has commenced. The man, and the man only whom she chose, gets to see her. Symbolically. Because obviously she doesn't wear the veil out in public. But that's the temple symbolism. And Nelson took it away. He devalued you. He may not even know the symbolism. Because they have to go talk to the BYU professors to ask them, what is our doctrine on faith? I don't know everything. I go and talk to people who do know. That's what they're saying in conference, guys. Have you not been paying attention? Our prophets don't know the doctrine of the church. And they go to other people who they claim know better than they do. That's why the gospel topic essays were not written by the prophets. They were written by BYU professors. BYU apologists, nonetheless. Those who defend the church with unsound arguments. And so, yes, those gospel topic essays from BYU apologists also accused Joseph Smith of not being a translator. Pay attention in this conference. I think they do it in the second session still. There's been some cases where they've been switching it around, but it should be in the second session where they do the sustaining vote of the leaders of the church. Pay very close attention to the naming of the titles of the leaders, the prophets, seers, revelators. There's a title missing. Translators. The church doesn't even acknowledge translation anymore. And it's a good thing because they've not done any translations since Joseph Smith. Brigham Young hasn't done any. None, all the way to Nelson, have not done translations of ancient records. They're supposed to have that key, that gift of the priesthood to do it. And not a single one of them has done it. But the records have been found. They're there. And yet, somebody else other than them knows more than they do. And have done their work for them as well. And so instead of acknowledging that they don't have the key of the priesthood. They instead say that Joseph Smith also didn't have the key of the priesthood to translate. And now they call it, oh, it was just revelation. It's not really translation. That's just what we call it. If you go back to listen to church history, you realize Joseph Smith knew the difference between revelation and translation. But the modern church will not disclose that information. Which was why the church attacked me when I went to them way back in 1997, saying, hey, I made this discovery in Paleo-Hebrew, and it seems to support Joseph Smith's translation from the King Follett Discourse of the Hebrew text of the Bible. Is there any information that you have on this? Any more stuff that I'm unaware of that I can continue to do the research on? And then I get hauled into my stake president's office with the full stake presidency and the full bishopric, all throwing out accusations at me. Are you trying to destroy the church? Who have you told? They wanted names. This was exactly like a foreign enemy who wants to keep secrets. We want names of the people that we can torture as well. Punish. Because we don't want this information out. And for this, I knew something was wrong. But the prophet kept himself separated from F. Michael Watson, who made it appear as if he had usurped President Hinckley's authority. And that may have been the case because the stake president said, I'm going to go find out what's going on. I'm going to go to Temple Square and talk to the prophet himself. He never came back to me. Instead, the counselor came back and said, yeah, you can continue your research, but don't go against the church. He said that. I was like, what the hell? What am I in? It was bad enough that when I go through the temple for the first time in the Los Angeles temple, that I'm being told to kill myself if I reveal what goes on in the temple, the name, signs, and tokens, and if I violate any of the covenants. One of those covenants is included in the covenant of the gospel. Do not speak evil of the Lord's anointed. And by that, they intended to mean the prophets, the leaders of the church. But it has to do with me too, because guess what? I just got anointed that day. But the church led me to believe it didn't mean me. And all the talk in the Mormon church is all about we can't criticize the leaders. The leaders are inspired of God. And so even though it may appear to be abusive and that we don't understand, they're called of God. And it's therefore God's will to be racist, to be sexist, to commit murder, to commit rape. That, my dear brethren and sisters, is not the Church of God. Section 107 provides the mechanism for removing a corrupt president of the church. But like with our own president, the whole party is in on it. And that's the whole problem with our government. We rushed to party government instead of the intended government that the Constitution demanded. So in the church, it was the same way under Brigham Young. The apostles do not have option to go against the prophet. They're in on it. It's sort of like how I got out of my bondage here in Utah. After 6 years, a new evaluator evaluated me and said, "Yeah, you're competent. You're free." And I said, "Wait, no. Travis is not supposed to be competent. Travis is not supposed to go free. No, this can't happen. Get another evaluation." Didn't matter. She was new to the job. If the other evaluator, who had been there a long time, evaluated me as not competent, then they'd have to do a third evaluation or have a decision by the judge. And what that meant would be that that new girl that was hired to the position would have a mark on her record. She just barely began, an automatic mark on her record. And so the other evaluator knew he couldn't do that to her. Because not only would it ruin her career, it would also ruin the reputation of evaluators altogether. She forgot to be instructed on how to evaluate me. And that was their mistake. And so it would be interesting if she had been properly instructed in me as to whether she would comply, or whether she would say, "Wait, no, this is not right. We can't treat people like this." And then she would have quit. That would have been her moment of truth. But they failed to inform her because they can't. You can't tell people to commit crime. And so they had no choice but to set me free after 6 years of the church ordering Shurtleff to lock me up. Lock me up. You think Trump started all this? No, the church has been doing it for a long time. So when I tell you, Mormons, about how evil you are, I hope you understand now. Because the church is teaching you how to attack me and others like me, whom you've chased out of the church. See, Bishop Hammond, Reed Hammond, who I showed the view from above of his house on the one video, he's going around telling people, I'm crazy, I'm the one to blame, I need to go back on my meds, when they're really drugs, that I need to go back into the hospital, locked away from society. And why? Because he attacked me, and he has to defend himself now. He's the one in authority as bishop. How dare I defend myself against him? How dare I criticize the leaders of the church? Him. Because I slammed him in our conversation. I quoted from Abinadi. I brought up that story. And Mormons, you know what that story means. Abinadi was going up against the corrupt church of King Noah. And so Bishop Hammond had to spread disinformation, misinformation about me to others in the ward. And some he didn't need to. Some were just automatic defenders of him regardless, like Brother Starr, Curtis Starr. He came over for a visit, but instead chose to attack me and defend the bishop. He didn't even know our conversation. He just automatically assumed the bishop was in the right and attacked me. So he's no longer welcome at my home, even though they tried to drop off little banana nut bread. Don't like nuts. Don't put nuts in your banana bread. Ugh. Mom did it. Ugh. She put the walnuts and brownies and other stuff. Ugh. Ugh. Walnuts is a food of the devils. Now, almonds, cashews, and peanuts, not pecans. No, those are also devil's food, along with walnuts. Obviously, you know I'm joking. But, but yeah, and so when Bishop Cummins takes over, after 6 months extension by President Hall for Bishop Hammond, he extended his time 6 additional months. His time was up when I went to President Hall. So what does President Hall do? He dismisses me and extends Bishop Hammond for 6 more months. So now Bishop Lee Hall is also guilty of what was done to me. And Bishop Cummins too. I was Bishop Cummins' home teacher for his family. And instead, he's going around telling people, Travis twists the scriptures. Twists the scriptures. As he just twisted the scriptures himself, making a false accusation that I'm twisting the scriptures. See, he was projecting. And other people believe him because of his position of authority. Authority does not make right. Doing what's right makes right. And Mormons and Republicans and any government official don't get that. Doing what's right makes right. But people try to make excuses. Well, the end justifies the means. The end then changes the value of the means so that the means are now right. No. Do what is right, let the consequences follow. Remember that, Mormons? All the little primary kids who are watching my channel, what are you doing watching my channel? And so, yes, Bishop Reed Hammond is projecting his evil. I already threw it back at him as to what his evil was by pointing out about Abinadi's story. He sort of got it, but he doesn't realize because he's in the position of bishop. He was. And so Bishop Cummins, he won't do anything now because he already believes the lie. And it's just going to perpetuate. You know, if 20 years are able to go by and I'm still here, the future bishops will just be told, oh yeah, stay away from Travis. He's not interested. Just stay away from him. Leave him alone. they're not even going to know why anymore. I'll still remember. I'll still tell them if they were ever to dare to come and talk to me. By then, I should have a whole bunch more stuff done, hopefully. Oh, man. So, a minute left on that. So, Mormons, Christ-like behavior is not attacking people, making false accusations against other people. What makes you think that it is? And I've done the videos. If you do what the Book of Mormon says, that apostates, corrupt leaders of churches do, then guess what you are? You are as you'd follow. Those who you emulate, that's who you are. And that's what I've seen here in Utah. From Shurtleff to F. Michael Watson to bishops to members, everybody is following the wrong examples in the Book of Mormon. And I did that video. You are projecting when you make a false accusation. And if we could follow the Deuteronomic law in Deuteronomy 19, I believe it's 19:19, we would be punishing Mormons for their abuse, for their corruption, for their hatred, for their bigotry, for their racism, for their sexism, for their rapes, for their murders, for their hypocrisy. But we don't do that in the court systems, do we? A witness comes forward, says, yes, I saw them, they were the ones guilty of the crime. We don't go to trial anymore, do we? We just bump up the charges, puff them up, trump them up, and then the people are rotting in jail, separated from their families, separated from their job, separated from their homes, and they are left with no choice but to submit and say, all right, fine, I'll confess, whatever you want me to do, just get me out of here so I can get back to my life. Nobody is willing to sacrifice as I've sacrificed. Because you see it. When protesters get arrested, they admit that they were wrong. You're not wrong for protesting. Don't let them do that to you. Don't plead guilty. Take it to court. Make sure they take you to court. There's not enough hospital beds in the Utah State Hospital for all of us who are non-competent to stand trial. And the Salt Lake County Jail will no longer house people in their jail if they're not competent for trial. They no longer will pursue those cases anymore. So that may be a way out to stand up against the bullying in Utah, against the church, against the government, against the people. If enough people rise up and say, we will not tolerate this anymore, it must stop. They can't arrest everybody. They don't have enough beds. We need to install the civil rights movement again. For every civil right. For the Constitution itself. so that we can stop all these projectors who are destroying this nation. Okay, so again, I'm keep pushing for a civil rights movement, guys. But who's listening? We can't just have one or two people say, yeah, let's do it. It won't work. We need to have a majority of people rise up. We have more than half of the citizens of this nation who are now in poverty. Under Trump, it has been raised. They don't talk about it. You have to actually look up the numbers yourself. Because if you have a full-time job working at a fast food restaurant, you're poor. You qualify as poor. Because that fast food restaurant is oppressing, suppressing, repressing your rights. They're taking their rights away from you. The rights of life, liberty, and property. You're making them rich while you continue to live in poverty. That's slavery. That's human trafficking. If you're struggling from paycheck to paycheck with a job, you're being human trafficked. Don't let them bully you into further false accusations, making you further victimized by saying, hey, you just need to work harder. You just need to get a better job. You need to get an education in a different field. Those are all abuse comments. So, all right. Rise up, people. We cannot allow authoritarian government. We're in a despotism, and our Declaration of Independence orders us to replace despotism, to replace authoritarianism, and establish a new government. We can even give the Constitution a try, though I would make some recommendations now that we have certain technologies in place. So, I'll end here. AVG, the worthless protection system, is popping up again saying, hey, we'll check your system. You know, if you do the tune-up feature, they screw you over, especially on the disk fragmentation. My old thumb drive, my old terabyte thumb drives are screwed up because of that feature. You don't do the disk fragmentation on your storage devices. Okay, we're done. Drop the mic.